Welcome to an insightful conversation with Victor Zhang. He is the CEO and co founder of Trestle, a visionary leader with a rich background in the heavy construction industry. Victor has over 15 years of experience and he has led estimating and procurement teams on landmark projects, overseeing bids totaling over 14 billion. His journey is marked by a commitment to making work more efficient through automation and standardization, which is evident in the foundation of Trestle. Victor is a licensed professional engineer in the state of New York, and beyond the construction realm, he is passionate about automating processes and has implemented numerous improvements throughout his career. In this interview, we will explore Victor's entrepreneurial journey and Trestle's innovative strides with its benchmark software. So, over to you, Victor. Can you share a pivotal moment in your entrepreneurial journey with Trestle where you faced a significant challenge and how you overcame it? And what lessons did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. This is really great. My co-founders and I, we both were first-time founders. And so even though we had a lot of experience in this particular space, we kind of went out there thinking that we understood everything there was to know about construction. And so very early on in our journey, we went down the path with a certain idea for our business. And we spent a lot of time building out an MVP, but without actually going to talk to a lot of customers to do, product and more rather problem verification or validation. And so we built out this MVP, and then when we got it in front of customers, we suddenly realized that nobody was interested in what it is that we were building, even though in our minds it was a great idea. So for us, that was a very challenging moment. We thought that we had a great idea, and ultimately it came crashing down. And from that, we learned a lot, as first-time founders, right? It was a very, very, I think, stereotypical mistake to make. And we learned from there that, hey, we really should go tackle a problem that we have a very deep understanding ourselves in, and then making sure that we go and then talk to potential customers to validate that problem before going to build anything. So that was incredibly helpful in us getting to where we are today and, ultimately building out what is the benchmark product for Trestle.
Thank you so much for sharing that. With your extensive background in the heavy construction industry is very impressive. So how has this first-hand experience influenced the development and success of Trestle's benchmark software in addressing industry challenges?
Yeah, it may sound very cliche, but at the end of the day, we were building a product for ourselves and specifically for me. When I was leading bids and running estimating teams, it was really difficult for us to be able to have the information we needed to select a subcontractor or supplier, especially, during a big closeout is really chaotic. And so you don't really have a lot of time to make the decisions, and the decisions have a lot of long-lasting impacts. So having that experience, knowing kind of what it is that we needed to know, what information I was looking for when I was in industry, it was really helpful to lay the groundwork for building out Benchmark. And then, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of really, really great individuals in the industry all around the world. So it was great to be able to call them up and say, guys, girls, I have this problem. I think that, it's something that the industry could really benefit from if we were to build out a solution for it. Do you guys experience the same thing in your company? And, initially it was, we talked to one, two, then it became five, a dozen, and then several dozen companies later, we realized, hey, we have something here. Let's go ahead and let's actually build a product. And they've been incredibly helpful in terms of developing the features, iterating on the features with us, giving us feedback. So, without that connection, without the experience in the industry, I don't think we would have been able to get to where we are today.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now I understand that Trestle focuses on providing modern software solutions for the construction industry. So in your opinion, what role does innovation play in addressing the complex and misunderstood aspects of the construction sector?
Yeah, I think construction is a really interesting sector in terms of tech adoption and tech innovation. I think it's an industry where, people pride themselves on getting work done. And I think what they've been doing has worked for a very long time. At the same time, I think that construction has a lot of inefficiencies, right? All it takes is for anyone to go look at a construction site and you see the amount of manpower that it takes, right? The amount of equipment and materials and the logistics, and everything is still very much manual. There's a lot of paper, right? Physical mediums, and then also a lot of word of mouth. I think, a lot of people will say that, hey, I don't want something to come, a piece of technology to come and replace my job. But I think that's not really the case, right? There's a shortage of labor in both the field staff and also in the office staff. And so innovation now is really the best way to move this industry forward, to make sure that we have the capabilities to continue to build, great critical infrastructure, housing, whatever it may be. And I think now is the perfect time. And you see that now in terms of, robotics, right? New ways of increasing efficiency, a lot more focus on data. So I think there's a lot to be done here in this sector. And there's a lot of things that we take for granted in our day to day that just don't yet exist in construction. And so we should definitely be bringing that here and making the industry better.
I totally agree with that. Now, the benchmark software allows organizations to capture lessons learned from projects. Can you share an example of how this feature has made a tangible impact on a project and what insights were gained?
Yeah, absolutely. The business case for Benchmark really is quite simple. A project, or if you're a construction company or an organization, your profits are being hurt. You're losing money when your subcontract suppliers don't perform on time and under budget. And it's simple as that. And all the other solutions that are out there right now, they'll alert you when something has gone wrong, right? Really, it's there to help you stop the bleeding when it has already occurred. But Benchmark is the only solution that lets you stop any of the profit losses before they ever even happen. And we do that by alerting, our customers, hey, there are certain risks here that you have captured from previous experience. And so we can kind of surface that and you can see, okay, there are certain issues here and I can take proactive steps to make sure that, these don't cause me to lose my profits on a project, right? I don't incur additional costs from that. And it could be something as simple as knowing that, hey, I've worked with Acme Construction in the past, and whenever I work with them, they show up to the job, but then we have to wait 4 hours because they don't have the right piece of equipment and we need that equipment to come. And so this creates not only delays in that project, right, whatever work that Acme Construction was doing, but also it creates a waterfall effect of delays throughout the rest of your project. So if you know that ahead of time, you can prepare and have that piece of equipment that they're missing. And so when they show up on the job site, they're ready to do their work and you're not wasting those 4 hours and you're not suffering the consequences of that delay throughout the project. Or it can be something as intricate as knowing, when I select, let's say, another vendor to work on my job, I take the price that they're giving me for a quote. Let's say it's $1 million. But if I can look back at my historic information and I know that every time I've used them in the past, really that $1 million becomes 1.2 million at the end of the day when it's all said and done, because we have a lot of change order requests or whatever it may be. Then on my next project, I know to include $1.2 million into my budget. And so this way, when I bring them on board again, I'm still using the vendor that I love to use, that I have a great connection and relationship with, but I also now have the right amount of money in the budget. So again, I'm not eating into my profits just to get that project done.
Thank you so much for that. Now, you have a deep passion for making work easier and faster through automation. How do you balance this passion with the practical aspects of running a successful business, especially in a complex industry like construction?
That's a really great question. I think one of the really important things to remember is that construction is still a very human business. And so, as much as we would like to bring so much technological innovation, right, to this industry to make it so that everything works as smoothly as possible, we still have to be very mindful of the fact that, the people that are here, right, they are very much involved in the day to day. And so at Trestle, we try to build a piece of software that feels incredibly familiar to what it is that they're doing already, but then also makes their lives a little bit easier, helps them save some money on the project as well. We don't want to bring so much change all at once that it feels incredibly foreign, and then it turns people off to the innovation and the benefits of automation. And so it's something that we always keep in the forefront of our minds. And so we develop things that they can easily use, they easily understand, and then also they're able to gain the benefits on day one.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, moving on to user engagement and field efficiency. So, the mobile interface and the SMS text feature aim to enhance field engagement. How have these features contributed to increased efficiency and collaboration among project teams, and what feedback have you received from users?
Yeah, we were incredibly proud in-house of the text message feature in collecting reviews. And it was great when we heard that our customers were also really blown away by it. We know from discussions with the customers and even when we were initially doing product iteration, that a major issue they were having was just being able to collect these field performance reviews. And what they were using was a lot of paper, a lot of Excel, and that was creating a lot of friction. And so we kind of sat back and we said, what is it that is very definitive of a project engineer or project manager's day to day, right? They're very busy. They're out in the field all the time. They don't really have a lot of time where they're going to sit down at a desk, right, and fill out paper forms or even use something on the computer. And that's kind of when we decided, well, what they always have with them is their phone. So let's make it as frictionless as possible. Let's make it so that they don't even have to log into the app at all. We're going to be the ones that initiate, and it's as simple as sending a text message, and then they interact with that, and they're done. And it feels like magic, but at the same time, we're able to collect all the information that the company really cares about from them. Feedback wise, the users love it. It's something that they feel like it's not intrusive to what they're doing day to day at all. And we're not asking them to learn a brand new tech stack. We're not asking them to, engage with the new workflow. It's none of that. It's something that's just, they're in and out in seconds. And it's been incredibly good for us in terms of serving the need of our customer.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, looking ahead, what is your vision for Trestle in the coming years? And are there any specific goals or milestones you aspire to achieve regarding business growth and the impact on the construction industry?
Yeah, big vision wise, we have a lot planned for Trestle as an overall platform. I think Benchmark is just us getting started, but we do hope that Benchmark will be a positive impact for the industry as a whole. I think a lot of what's happening right now is, word of mouth. A lot of relationships are heavily used, right, in terms of selecting vendors. And we want to make sure that those relationships are still maintained, right, and they're still fostered. But we also want to make sure that when a specific individual maybe decides to change careers or retires, right, that their knowledge doesn't leave with them and the company doesn't suffer from that. So we see really Benchmark is able to help the individual companies in that way, retaining that knowledge, making sure that they're able to continue to grow and continue to build on, their past experiences and their past performance. But at the same time, we think that Benchmark has the unique opportunity to also make the industry a little bit better in terms of offering transparency, in terms of making sure that everyone's on the same playing field. We heard from our general contractor clients that they would really like to know, what is it like to work with specific subs and suppliers that maybe they don't have a very deep relationship with, and Benchmark is able to offer that feedback to them. And then similarly, we hear from the subcontractor clients we have that, hey, they would really like to know what is it to work with a particular general contractor. Are there certain things they should be aware of before signing that contract? They would love to know, what other people's experience have been, so that they are able to also use that to their advantage and also improve their own business operations. And so ultimately, we see that it's going to be a win-win for everybody. And we really see it as where Benchmark is going to make this industry a lot more transparent and then to benefit everyone at the end of the day.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, my final question is, what piece of advice do you have for entrepreneurs who are just getting started in this space?
Wow, that's a tough one. I would say is to know your customers very well. So always put your customers first, and you have to go out and execute. Some days it feels like an incredible grind. Some days you feel like you're down, but you really just have to get yourself back together, see what you can learn from that day, even if it was the toughest day of the business yet. And then the next day you get back up, you take those lessons, and you continue on.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I love the fact that your answers were very candid and thorough. And sometimes, as a new entrepreneur, it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So, it's difficult to ask the right questions. And I'm sure that anyone watching this interview will know, those questions is like what they should be asking and what the answers are for those questions. Thank you so much. And I really enjoyed doing this interview. I hope that you did too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. This was great.